it's me again, it's Chemo Nee, and I'm here to discuss another book with you guys. As you guys know, last time I reviewed, what was the book called again? Hold on. King of Wrath by Anna Huang, and I give my mixed review on the story, particularly the relationship between Dante and Vivian. But today I'm going to be here to discuss No Sex in the City by Randa Abdel-Fattah. Now, why did I pick up this book? Well, to be honest, I have an addiction to book shopping, and it was starting to become a bit costly for me personally. And so I finally, decided, I have to get a library card, got that library card, and I was just browsing around the library trying to figure out what book to pick up. And I thought to myself, I'm someone who is not a fan of romance. Okay, like I feel like the genre has way too many tired tropes. I don't in general tend to really enjoy them as much, but romantic comedies I can get behind, and this, my friends, is a brilliant romantic comedy. I can't lie, I sort of judged it like in the first 5 to 10 chapters. I was sort of like yeah, but like, it is really good. Like, it's a solid romance comedy, and it made me laugh a few times as well. So first of all, let's get into the premise. So yeah, let's actually talk about, like, I think the idea of like No Sex in the City, essentially No Sex in the City is a club which the main character Esma starts with her best friends, just to talk about like their singleness and how obviously none of them are hitched, none of them are married, and so they're all on their journeys and trying to find Mr. Right, as they describe him. And so I found this premise really interesting, the idea of having a club. I thought the author was going to expand it even further to include like women within the city, but it ended up just being these four, which on one end I was just sort of like, oh, I expected more than this. I think I would have liked to have seen like this community of women come together, but at the same time it means the story can dedicate more time to each individual character and their own like quest to find Mr. Right. I will say though, this book isn't all just about like finding a man. It has so many other interesting themes and side plots, one of which is Esma's relationship with her family, particularly her dad. So her dad has gotten himself into a mountain of debt because of gambling. He's refusing to tell, Esma's mom, his wife, that, he's lost the house, he's in debt, he can no longer pay for it. And instead he goes to Esma with his problem, and together they decide to try and pay off the debt as much as possible. Now this is a huge impacts on Esma's like financial independence, her financial future, and it stresses her out throughout the novel, her feeling as if I need to let this out. I need to tell someone. I need to tell my mom. I need to tell my friends. I need to tell someone. But at the same time, she keeps it all within herself because she doesn't feel like, she doesn't want to betray her dad. She doesn't want to dishonor her dad. She doesn't want to embarrass her dad, and so she keeps it a secret, and she jeopardizes her own financial future in order to help pay off her dad's debt and to save her mother and father's relationship with each other. So that's one side plot. Another side plot is Esma again. She is stuck in this very she's being harassed by her boss essentially, and this is compounded by the fact that she knows she can't exactly just quit and leave, because it's not just her she's worrying about. She has to worry about the house that she's currently trying to pay off, the debt that her dad has put her into as an extension of his gambling, and she needs to keep up with those debt repayments, because if she doesn't, then obviously her dad is gonna have to tell her mum, and then she's worried about the chaos this might lead to her family. So she feels this obligation to stay in her job despite the fact that she is being sexually harassed at her job. I thought this both plot lines were written really well. First, let's start with the sexual harassment storyline. I felt like it was very subtle. Like, I think I was very much like Esma at the beginning. I just thought that Danny, her boss, was just sort of like an idiot. He was, crass, he was unprofessional, but that's all I played it up to. And then as the narrative progressed, it started to evolve more into like sexual harassment, blurring the boundaries between work and personal life, and overall just putting her in really uncomfortable situations, which I really loved that storyline, because just as Esma was starting to understand what was happening between her and her boss, I, as the reader, was also starting to understand what was happening between her and her boss. And so I thought it was really like, it was almost as if I was mirroring the character's feelings, which I absolutely loved. I really like how Abdel-Fattah did that. And then when it came to the whole family plotline, I can't lie, I can't remember at what point in the book that I started to cry, but I think it was just this moment where Esma was feeling really, really overwhelmed. She was really, really anxious. She was thinking about her future, about, you know, not finding a man, and her pressure from her, like, from her family to find a husband, and then she also has this debt to repay, and then keeping the family together because she's worried if she outs the debt, then it's not only going to ruin her father, but it's going to ruin their entire family structure and the relationship between her father and mother. And so when she like breaks down and she's vulnerable and she's really anxious, I just cried, to be honest, guys. Like, I've never really been through exactly what, you know, Esma has been through, but like, I can strongly identify with that feeling of like, I don't want to speak up because I don't want to let someone down, or I don't want to. It's almost as if this loyalty or like obligation you feel to other people prevents you from speaking. I don't feel like this is the type of book, by the way, that's gonna like make you like, that will make everybody cry. It's not like, it's not really dark or anything. It's just that I feel like if you can really relate to the characters' feelings, and you've been through or you've experienced a similar feeling to some of the characters, that I feel like you'll really feel that quite strongly. But I was super happy for Esma. I was really happy with her ending. At the end, she finally finds Mr. Right, and he's such a lovely, lovely guy named I think it was Adian. Adian? I do believe so. Hold on, let me check that, guys. Oh no, Aiden was her Mr. Right, which I was so happy about that ending, because again there was this, I think the latter half of the story focused between her trying to decide between Aiden and then this other guy that she had also met up with, whose name is, can I quickly find it in here? Hold on. I know it starts with an M. Martin? Marin? I don't know, guys. I know it's something along those lines. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, for now, I'm just gonna call him Martin, to be honest. We'll go with Martin until I can finally find his name in this book. I'm surprised I can't just open it. Oh, Martin! Yes! I found it, guys. I found it. It's Martin. And it's sort of this inwards debate that she's having between Metin and Aiden. And I think the conclusion was done really well. I felt like, even though I think there's room to like obviously grow with a partner, to understand each other and to build like a life that you enjoy for each other, but I felt like Metin was just a bit too insecure at the moment where he met Esma. And I also feel like with Aiden, she had so much more like emotional chemistry and vulnerability, and that's something you need in a relationship, compared to Metin, where she even admits it herself repeatedly in the novel that, you know, she's very like physically attracted to him, if that makes sense, and that's sort of like blurring her better judgment. So I'm really glad with the way that ended. And I will also say though, side note, I did not like, you guys let me know your opinions on this. I've never dated before, but like I feel like the idea of like getting to know two people at the same time is a bit off to me. Like, I know that you're not officially committed in a relationship, but like, does no one else find that kind of odd? Like, if I found out a guy I was getting to know, possibly looking for a romantic relationship with was like talking to like what another girl on the sides, trying to decide between the two of us, I can't lie, I think I'd feel quite hurt. But let me know what your thoughts are, because I didn't personally like what Esma did, but I don't know, you guys might disagree. Like I said, it's probably more complex than that. I definitely did feel like the complexity of her emotions emanating from the pages. But I don't know, I just found that quite a little sketchy. Like, if that happened in real life, I'd be like, oh. Anyways, talking about the pages though and the emotions, I think overall what Abdel-Fattah does really well is like portraying the emotions of each and every single one of the characters through the pages. Like not just Esma, like her friends are like really like I really enjoyed their characters. And again, when I was talking about like the first like 10 chapters I was sort of judging, it's because the friends were introduced so like flat out. So like literally their appearances were described, their jobs were described, and like what they and their personalities were described like right off the bat, I think in the first 5 chapters. And I personally don't really like that because I tend to find that in stories like that the characters tend to be quite one-dimensional. You don't really have time to develop them. I prefer stories that develop their characters over time and it's sort of implied in the actions that they do within the story, which is why I was a bit like, yeah, am I gonna like this? It's just is this gonna lack any like, you know, any like substance? But it ended up really well. Like Nirvana's storyline is really nice. So she meets someone and he becomes engaged to him, Anil. And Anil's mother is, you know, those typical, like I've heard a lot like on social media from like the South Asian community that like some Indian mothers can be a bit intense with their sons and can see their daughter-in-laws as competition. And this is explored in this narrative quite well. I will say Nirvana did annoy me at the end, but I will get to that. But Nirvana eventually breaks it off with Anil because Anil continuously chooses his mother over her, which I really liked. I think it's good to set your boundaries. I think it's good to like preemptively, you know, cut something off before it goes too far, because as much as we want to change people, not everyone is ready to change. So everyone wants to change, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean you have to stay for that change. So I really liked that assertion. Ruby, again, Ruby was, I think, the funniest character in this book. I really enjoyed her like her presence in the story as like more of like a light-hearted, like sort of like very funny friend. But Ruby, her storyline is essentially like she meets a guy from like a different social background from her, which obviously causes some questions about how her family will receive him. But not only that, there's this issue in the story with Ruby and Alex, the guys whom she's interested in, and essentially Alex is on a break with his girlfriend at the time that he was sort of pursuing Ruby, but then now he's breaking it off with his girlfriend because he wants to be with Ruby. And so that was again another situation where I was like, I could see both ways. At the same time, Alex was on a break, and he has after like what's it called? After meeting Ruby, he has full intention of breaking up with her. And he did. But then at the same time, he also ignored Ruby for a period of time without letting her on about anything that had happened. And I found that like really sus. Like, why wouldn't you communicate that? Why would you just lead someone on like that, if that makes sense? But I was satisfied with Ruby's decision. I felt like it was a very Ruby thing to do, and I don't think Alex was the bad person. I think he was just confused and it led to bad actions. But again, I was really happy with her ending. And then Lisa, she's not interested in men. She's not interested in children. She's just a single woman who wants to live her life, and I love that. I can't lie. She was my favorite character, despite the fact that I think in the narrative she gets the least sort of like, you know, what's the equivalent of screen time in a book? Page time? I don't know, I'm coining that term. Page time. She gets the least amount of page time. And but either way, I just absolutely loved her. I loved how she was so straight to the point. And she was sort of like the straight man to everyone else's nonsense, if that makes sense. And she was the very practical, responsible friend. And then I really liked at the end how so essentially Lisa's a counselor, and when Nirvana was engaged, Anil's sister came up to her and asked for advice about quite a emotionally charged situation. And Lisa didn't advise her, but she did direct her to people who could advise her. And that ultimately leads to a decision being made by Anil's sister. And Nirvana finds out about this after she breaks off the engagement with Anil, and she's furious about it. This is the part where I was just like, Nirvana, like, girl, don't be doing too much. Like, don't be doing too much. I really respected Lisa wanting to keep that confidentiality. I didn't think Nirvana had any right to know about her sister-in-law's emotions, or like what she was going through, especially the subject of it. Like, she was in a toxic relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship. She was also pregnant. There were a lot of difficult decisions that had to be made. And even though Nirvana, yes, at the time she was supposed to become family with her, I don't think she had the right to like I don't think Anil's sister, oh, I can't remember her name either. I'm always forgetting different characters' names, guys. I just know them by their personality. But like, Anil's sister doesn't owe her anything, and especially since like I can't lie about that. Like, sure, you're gonna be a part of this family, but like, it's not like you've been in this family. You haven't known her for years, so why you would think you're obligated to know about something as sensitive as like what she was going through? I don't know. I don't know why I'm talking about the character as if she exists, but you guys know what I mean, right? Like, I personally didn't like Nirvana's reaction, and I really respected Lisa for ensuring that Anil's sister had someone to talk to, for directing her, and also just being professional about it as well, knowing that she has a personal connection with Nirvana, and therefore she didn't personally give her advice, but Lisa did direct her to other people who could give her advice. I thought that was being a good friend, a good counselor, someone who, I don't know, it was just, I respected her in that moment. I really respected her in that novel. And then I guess there were other characters as well, like Esma's sister, her husband, although they don't get touched on very much. Esma's sister, whatever her name is, again, I can't remember, is the younger sister, so she's not tied down with any of the responsibility. She doesn't get much page time, so, you know, I can't lie, she's sort of forgettable. So is her husband. And then, and you know, oh, the mother doesn't get much page time either, but I really like this scene at the end where she was basically telling her husband and children that, like, she lives for herself. Like, and everyone sort of realizes that they underestimated, you know, Esma's mother, because Esma herself says that she underestimated her and that she was patronizing her and infantilizing her by protecting her from this debt. And so was her father, because despite the fact that, you know, Esma's father takes care of all the finances, it is still, you know, Esma's mum's life, essentially. And so she deserves to be informed in the decisions that are being made financially. If she wants to know, she shouldn't be protected by these kind of things. And I really like that moment in the story where she just sort of like, she made that clear to absolutely everyone. I really respected that. But overall, this was an amazing read. I absolutely loved this book. It was sort of like, it was a nice like read, to be honest. It was really nice. If I had to give this a few stars out of 10, how many stars would I give this out of 10? I think I would give it a 7.5. It was good. It was a good romantic comedy. It made me laugh a few moments, made me cry, like I said, in a few moments. Overall, a really good story. I really love to know Sex in the City and would totally recommend to you guys. But that's all I have to say on this book. If you've read this book, like, let me know. I need to talk about it with someone. I need to get your opinions. Share, like, subscribe, you know, whatever you think you can do to support my channel, please do. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you when I finish my next read. Don't know how long it's gonna take though, because my next read is actually like, you know, just like historical fictions based in the Victorian era. They write in a certain way. They write in that sort of like old Victorian English, and they tend to be really long novels. Yeah, I'm reading something like that at the moment. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've only read the first 20 pages, but it seems like it's going to be like an interesting ride. It's also like really lengthy, and it uses a bunch of vocabulary where I'm just like, I don't know what you're on about. It's just a very wordy read, and obviously it's written like, it's English, don't get me wrong, I can read it and I can comprehend everything, but like, it's written in a different style of English where I'm just like, it just hurts sometimes to read. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Let me know if you've experienced something like similar, but like, I just find it like, I find it really hard to like read those types of books, but they always tend to be really interesting. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.